It's Monday, which means I just got that. It's Monday, which means it's time for the weekend box office report, brought to you by our friends at AMC Theaters. Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice shattered box office predictions, opening up at number one with $166.1 million domestic, marking the biggest debut of a DC comic film ever and the sixth biggest domestic opening weekend of all time. Overseas, it opened to $254 million from 66 markets for a global debut of $420.1 million. Zootopia took the number 2 spot with $23.1 million to push the domestic total to $240.5 million. At number 3 was My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2, earning $18.1 million. There was a tie for the number 4 spot with Miracle from Heaven and the Divergent series Allegiant, both taking in $9.5 million. And at number 5, 10 Cloverfield Lane with $6 million. Mark, your thoughts on the huge box office for Batman vs. Superman?
Well, congratulations. It's enough money to make sad Affleck happy Affleck again, and that's all we really wanted this weekend. Look, it made $166 million. A lot of estimates, and still if you go online this morning, you might see that it was at 170. That is not quite the case. It got a little inflated late Sunday night. The actual number is 166, which is interesting because, yes, it is still a huge, monstrous opening, but it is no longer the biggest Warner Brothers opening of all time. That will still remain with Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, which did $169 million at the box office its opening weekend. But listen to these records. I mean, it's the biggest March opening of all time. It's the biggest opening for a DC Comics movie of all time. And obviously, it's the biggest one of the year. And it beats Fast and Furious's record for the March opening, I believe, which was like $145 million, somewhere around there. So a huge weekend. And I'm happy to see it. Even though I didn't love the movie, I didn't get it to fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm glad to see that fans do not pay that much attention. While they read all the stuff that critics were saying about it, they wanted to see it for themselves. It's a movie that I still think should have been witnessed in theaters. I know you guys saw it multiple times this weekend. I did my best to get there for a second time. It's a movie worth checking out in a movie theater. And then everything else, like, look, Zootopia is still killing it. I like to see 10 Cloverfield Lane hanging on there. My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2 got... If you think Batman vs. Superman didn't do well with critics, My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2 got lambasted by them, but apparently there's still a market for it. The movie's not that expensive to make, and it did $18 million against a behemoth like Batman vs. Superman. So hats off to you, My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2. Dennis, what about these numbers stands out to you?
Well, yeah, we talked about this last week. We talked about this movie. Even though we all here had mixed feelings about the film, we knew that it was still going to make a lot of money. Had the reviews been a lot better, I think it would have pushed closer to a 200 million, but 160 is great for it. But I know a lot of people are screw the critics. Critics don't matter. Da da da. Like, to me, that's like saying, no, I don't care about my ex-girlfriend, but every chance I get, I can bring her up in conversation, right? Like, it does matter, but this particular movie, like we talked about with Transformers, it's not as bad a movie as Transformers, but I think it's one of those few movies that can escape any type of criticism. It could have got like 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it still would have made a ton of money. I actually didn't get to see it a second time yet, but I'm going tonight. I want to see it again, this time with lowered expectations, and maybe just to see how the fan reaction is to it.
Yeah, I love seeing the way that people would go back a second time and say they're going in with a different framework. Either they're lowering their expectations, or they're saying, I'm going to go see this movie and watch it from the perspective of a graphic novel as opposed to a movie, and maybe it flows better that way. Schnepp, your take on the box office?
Yeah, I'm going to go see it again tonight, too. I only saw it once. I'm going to see it tonight with watching it like a disjunctive, strange, abstract comedy. So maybe I'll enjoy it more. You know what? I think it was great that all of us had our opinions out there so that you could see it with lowered expectations and then actually enjoy it.
Yeah, we did you all a favor.
Yeah, we did we did so much good for all of you to give it like, Batman and Superman, you guys are crazy. It was 9 out of 10. You would only say that because we ganked on it so hard and was like, look at all these scenes that don't make sense, and this was disappointing and that was disappointing. Believe it, there was great scenes and are great scenes in that film. But I'll speak for myself, really excited to see that film, and I think I went in there with too high of expectations. So pretty bummed out about it, but I'm gonna see it again now with like actually like medium level expectations and see what I think. So that's the thing. That's the reason it didn't make 200 million because of the critics' reviews. But everyone wants to have an opinion on Batman v Superman. It's like it's something that you need to see in the theater because otherwise you're left out of this insane debate about whether it's a good film, an amazing film, or a bad film. Should Zack Snyder do Justice League? All these questions people were like asking over the last week. You have to see the movie to actually be part of that conversation. So I think it's going to carry over into next week. But it's a giant box office.
You and
crazy.
me and Frosty did a little hero special that we posted this morning. You can check that out. We're talking about the DC universe after Batman v Superman.
Yeah,
trying to answer. But I mean, obviously, you have to watch the movie before you watch.
Yeah,
that.
if you've seen the film, if you've seen Batman v Superman this weekend, check out our little. It's not even a spoiler thing. We talk a little bit about Batman v Superman, but it's all speculation about beyond Suicide Squad and Wonder Woman. What are those next films? Where are they going to go in that direction? So.
No, the big question is next weekend, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of these are pre-sale tickets. All the fans, is it going to have repeat viewings? Because the reports are that the drop-off from Friday to Sunday just this weekend for Batman v Superman were really high. They said it was like actually the highest percentage drop-off for a superhero film. Maybe it's because of Easter Sunday. We had WonderCon going on. I don't know how much those affected the box office, but next weekend is the big indicator. How much is it going to drop off?
Yeah, I mean, I always look at the box office like the first weekend can be influenced by critics, and after that, it really is a matter of how much the fans like it. So we're going to find out. People can say all they want on internet chat rooms that, oh, this is the greatest movie ever, but we're going to find out what the box office says next weekend because that's how many people, want to see it for the first time, but mostly who wants to go back again and check it out. I think it's going to have great repeat business because if you see it the first time, there's so much in there. There's so many Easter eggs. There's so much to feast your eyes on that you want to go see other hints. Like, we don't want to get into spoiler territory here on this show, but I want to go back and check it out again just to see some of those images again, see some of those sequences that I might have just been like so overwhelmed by the first time. I want to see this movie again in theaters, even though I didn't like it. It's rare to say that. I think it's one of those ones that's going to hold up pretty well. Look at what's coming out next week, too. I mean, everybody wants some. The title alone of that movie is going to get me in to see the theaters. I'm a huge Van Halen fan. I hope it's great. And then you have God's Not Dead Part 2, I believe, which we know is going to get the faith-based dollar, but I don't know that anything's going to be close to toppling B versus S. Is there a chance that it does 50% or less of what it did this weekend?
Yes. I would put money that it's going to do less than 50%.
Yeah.
So it would be over $80 million would be the haul.
Yeah, I would say it's going to drop off more than 50% because most of these films like that got okay critical responses, but even if the fans loved it, they all see it the first weekend. Like The Incredible Hulk, that had a 60% drop off. The original, just Ang Lee Hulk, had a 65% drop off. A lot of these films have these big drop offs between just week 1 and week 2 because the critical response was like, I'm not so sure. But the people who are like, I want to see it for myself, usually go the first or second weekend, but mainly the first weekend. So I think this will have a 50% drop off for sure.
People are asking us in the chat room about a deleted scene with Lex Luthor. I have to say, that dropped like right when we were getting ready for the show, so we haven't seen it yet, so we'll probably talk about that tomorrow. On a side note, I think you and me tied for box office predictions over the weekend.
Well, then I should get the tiebreaker because you totally prices righted me with Batman versus
No,
Superman.
not that though, but for you won the
Because I was $1 million closer.
You won the tiebreaker then.
Yeah, but the price is right. I think you got to get the closest to without going over, so we both lost. But I was $1 million closer to the take.
You win. You get the win then.
We all lowered our expectations because I had it $200 million for a while. Then I took it down to 183 because I was just so nervous about the critics' reviews of it. But yes, I win the box office, and I'm going to let you guys know I won the box office because it happens once a year. This was it for me.